What if your story could ignite a movement? At New Solutions Network, we merge truth, resilience, and reinvention, fueling shows that cut past the noise and light up what really matters: human potential. Police, athletes, survivors, incarcerated folks, visionaries, we bring raw, real voices the world needs to hear. Want to share your story? Want to sponsor change? Now is the time. New Solutions Network, unlocking the future, one voice at a time. Hi there, and welcome to another Natanya Experience. Today, this is a quickie, but it's going to be a goodie. My guest today is a man of many, many lives. We were introduced, let's just be honest, a couple hours ago, because you were coming in to talk about your legal profession.
Yes.
Specifically some, let's say celebrity musicians, including, R. Kelly and the like. But we also got to hear some really cool stories about when you were in college in a band. And essentially, as sometimes happens, not besmirching all club owners, but that there was a club owner that wasn't paying you guys. And one of the other guys who was performing there was Kid Rock.
Yes.
And you were a student. I thought that was adorable. And how the other guys were like, he's a lawyer. You're like, well, I'm not a lawyer, but, and you got everybody paid. And that sort of cemented you. That, you didn't know, that cemented you.
It kind of did, yeah.
You also said something that I thought was interesting when you're like, I didn't want to be a lawyer. But, my dad said, your brother's a lawyer. I think culturally, I
didn't want to be a lawyer because I didn't think I was going to be able to, because I wasn't a great student.
There you go. That's something.
2.8 at Ramsey and a 2.9 at Villanova. I applied to 29 law schools, got rejected by all but two.
Okay.
And one was University of Puerto Rico, and you have to be taught in Spanish, which I did not speak. So I went to Detroit by default. But it was the greatest thing I ever did. My dad was right. It was a great profession to get involved in.
And clearly you made the most of that lemonade there. Here we are.
When I got into law school, I got all A's in law school because I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
It really opened up for you.
It really did.
It's funny because I had a little bit of a different. I also felt like I got two choices, doctor or lawyer. And then, not really, but that feeling of like, if you were into the arts, that was like your hobby. And then you have to have something that you can.
But there's no doctor arts. There is entertainment lawyer, which was great for me because, and as a trial attorney, I get to perform in front of juries regularly.
Right.
So it really is a performance. I mean, I've cried in front of juries. I've broken down. I've looked them right in the face and said, how would you feel if this? I mean, it's a performative art because you're really communicating passion and issues with regard to your client sometimes that you really want the jury to get.
So that's really interesting. If I can say a cliche that it's not directed at you, but at we all know there's like books about lawyer jokes and that kind of thing. So it's sort of, and we made a joke as we said that, in my family, there's quite a few as well, including one of our children is studying law right now. Right. So it's not like something I don't understand or respect. I hopefully take it that way. But there is a bit of a stereotype around the sort of calculated, essentially either the financial paper pushing and quite frankly, maybe predatory, like I'll take, the cartoons that make fun of that. What you just said right now was really interesting because it is a completely different lens on the human aspect of, especially in trial, which I know there's many different kinds of lawyers, but we're talking specifically about your kind. Mm-hmm. And that you're saying you have an emotional connection to your case, to your client, to humanity, the laws that become case law from a big case like that because they're a landmark.
On so many levels, because we have to fight so much harder than either the state or the feds do because they don't run out of time or money. They've got unlimited accounts. I had a client come to me on a rape charge where he didn't rape anyone. It was consent. We know the young lady is lying. We have evidence that she's lying. We have text messages and everything. But up until the time of trial, and then it matters is, can we get that stuff in or not? Yeah. And it's a lot where the guy's like, the wife's looking at him like, did he do this or not? I got kids with him. There's so much dynamic going on.
And you meet all the players.
He shouldn't have been with this other woman and so on and so forth. But it was only until he broke it off. And then when you go through a trial and when you finish and the jury comes back, 12 independent people come back and they say not guilty, or a portion of them say not guilty. It's like, you just had a war to just prove somebody didn't do something. Yes, I am there to make the state prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but in a lot of cases, I am also proving that my guy didn't do it, even though that's not my burden, but you have to do that sometimes. So it is, I've cried to juries, and I've cried after cases are done. Because it's draining, especially when you see it not going the way, or an officer should be testifying to what's in the document as the truth, but since the document has been kept out, they will not tell the truth on the stand. And I know that something's wrong here, but I am barred by doing anything about it.
So I want to lean into that another moment psychologically, because my whole shtick here, right, is like the mental health and the people behind what we do and why we do what we do. Our whole company is a larger scale organization that does a lot of behavioral. We do technology for behavioral science, and a lot of what we're doing is collecting stories so that we have better algorithms about why people really do what they do. And because I felt that the traditional psychological tools that we had to start with were kind of based on a couple kinds of people from a couple kinds of culture, but not really. They didn't relate to a lot of different kinds of people, right? And especially formerly incarcerated people, law enforcement, military, people who, celebrities, right? Professional athletes, people who don't necessarily move like a W-2, I'll say good old regular folks, right? And so a lot of the things that were supposed to be for wellness and mental health were not working.
Right.
Just to let you know, like, that's why we're doing this, right? So then, okay, you're not like a regular guy on a lot of levels. So now you are faced with, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're performing, but you're a lawyer. So you're strategic and you're maneuvering. What have you had, and I don't want to know any names. Unlike them, I want a different reason. I'd like to know, have you ever had cases where you had someone before you where you privately felt that they were maybe guilty, and how you reconciled that? Or do you kind of have ability?
This is the standard question all defense attorneys get.
I know, but
I have a canned answer for it because it's the same answer every time. I'm a defense attorney. Okay. I don't care who you are or what you're accused of doing, or honestly what you've done. That's not my concern. I would represent the devil, Hitler, Biden, Trump, whoever came to me. I don't make a moral judgment. It's not my job. That's not the job. My job, and every good defense attorney has to separate themselves. If not, you can't be a good defense attorney, because I will. And in this scenario, I'm going to tell you why. Because my opinions about the person might be true. That person might be everything that they say that person is, except this one thing he didn't do. And that's the one thing we're dealing with. The devil is a bad dude. But did he punch that one guy in the face that day, or was it somebody else in a red costume? Right. And that one day, you cannot judge that person's life. The devil don't get any worse than the devil. He's the devil. All right. So everything he does is bad. But did he do that extra thing? Well, you can't punish him on that one thing just because everything he does is bad. Devil, do you do anything good? No, I do everything bad. Is it possible you do that? I would do it. If I saw that guy, I would punch him in the face, but he might not have. And I'll give you an example real quick. One of my first cases I had was a rape case where a client came to me and he was charged with rape. And I took the case in. I kind of didn't know if I believe him or not or whatever, but it's not my job to believe him. So we're getting evidence. I said, listen, prosecutor comes to me and
you have to believe what evidence he's going to give you. Though,
well, right? I try to get what he can, but I know I'm not going to put him on the stand because in this kind of case, it's not going to go that well. So I learned from looking at the discovery that, and the prosecutor didn't know this, but it's in the discovery that there was DNA found at the scene, but nobody had tested the DNA. So I'm like, this could be detrimental or could be good. So I go to the client, listen to me, this is the time, the family, everybody get the hell out of here. This is the time to tell me, is it you that was there? No, it wasn't. They have DNA. What does it say? Ready, I'm not liking that question. What's it say? All right. If you weren't there, he's like, no, we did have a relationship, but I never did anything to. I'm like, but you didn't know. All right. That night, were you there? No, I wasn't there. Okay. So the DNA that was, I'm going to get it tested. Understand this. And I literally almost choked him because he was not giving me the answers I wanted. And I get in physical fights with my clients all the time because it's heavy when we're doing trial prep.
You say that, so matter of fact, I just had to. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Russian mob guys I represented, one guy jumped at me because he didn't understand my tactic at trial. And then he's literally on top of me. The sheriff's officer come in the room. I'm like, we're good. He's like, what are you doing? Why did you say that? And I explained to him. He's like, oh, I did not know this. Okay, fine. So, but this guy said no. And the DNA comes back and it's him. I was like, do you understand? Now I have to give this to the state. You just sealed your call. So he's like, I was me, but I did it. I'm like, oh, my God. So, but when we got to trial, we went through a back and forth with the witness. Finally, she admitted. So I thought my client did it. I, who should know everything, thought my client did it, had evidence to show that he did it and that he lied to me. But even I was wrong, because when the witness finally took the stand on cross-examination, she finally admitted, my father said to me, either you are if I could say it, a tramp, you are a tramp and you're leaving my house tonight, or you were raped. Decide which one it's going to be, because we're going to go to the police if it's the latter. So she went to the police, never thinking, I'm honestly going to make it all the way to trial. But finally on the stand, when I saw her keep looking at the father.
Her home life was on the line. I'm not defining the person. No. I'm just saying that
she kept looking at her father during testimony. And I said, Judge, I got in the middle of it. I said, Judge, can you ask him to leave? And he's like, no. And I was heavy at the time, which we'll probably get into. And he's like, fat bastard, attorney, scumbag. And he left. And finally she broke down and cried. She's like, no, my father said this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. I knew something was not right. But so you don't want a defense attorney making decisions on what they think, because I knew the guy did it, but he didn't.
And that is actually
that's huge for attorneys.
And I did set up that runway a little on purpose, but thank you. So within that, 2 more shifts, because I know we are tight on time, and this is just a preview episode of what we're going to get really into, because we unlocked a lot today. But I would like to say the other side of that was that we talked about people who now, especially those of means and celebrity status, record their entire life.
Yes.
They record their entire life like as if they worked for the law enforcement with a body cam.
Yes.
And so that means conversations, intimate confessions, trips to the grocery store, and everything in between. 24/7, no re-recording except for a 5-hour window that they
that's just the device I have. You can get them that record
that without stop. Yeah. Exactly. I'm just giving that example because you gave it, right? So now we're at a place where because you talked about this slightly, and then, bringing it into a close, you have evidence that, we can see video with your eyes, sound, what have you. But because of how it's collected or used, and I'm only using this one example, but and this is a non-legal perspective here, meaning there's no legalese and I'm saying all the wrong things, but just meaning to what you said before around you can't use it. So meaning depending on what it is, whether it's a document, a text message, a video, evidentiary standards that they provide structure in the justice system for very good reason. I'm not judging it. Well, I might have feelings, but I'm not judging it. I'm just saying
it has to be reliable.
Has to be reliable. But what that means sometimes is you literally might have visual confirmation. A group of people might have it. But because of evidentiary standards, you might not be able to actually use that piece of evidence to defend your client.
Well, the law has a very interesting thing about that. The law is so smart. The law, that's why I love the law. I might not be able to get something in to say, officer, I saw you on video beating this guy up, and here's the video.
Right.
But if he gets on the stand, an officer, did you beat that guy up? No. I now can bring it in for impeachment.
So that was really interesting. So that's how, and because I think it's adorable how you love the law. Like it's clear. You're like, this is an amazing. It's almost like it's your video game.
It's definitely not a game, but it's like
strategic.
Here's the thing: my dad, when we were growing up, he told my brother and I, who's also a licensed attorney, and my sister is as well. He said the only one way to beat the law is with the law. So it very much is a skilled, articulate game of placement of facts and stories to present to a trier of fact, a judge or a jury, to have them understand and then make a proper decision based on the standards that a judge will give to somebody in a jury instruction, depending on the type of case, civil or criminal. Criminal beyond a reasonable doubt. But it very much is a checkers type, chess type event that takes place.
Oh, absolutely. I said 4D chess, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd say like small claims, then you get into the bigger chess games.
Yeah.
Then you're Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Where you guys play.
Right.
Let's go back. You're a musician.
Yes.
What do you do? Sing, play?
I play a little guitar, play a little piano, but mostly I sang. I was always a singer for whatever band I was in.
What kind of genres?
If
those guys are at your shows. But,
I like I like all music. Anything that makes me feel something I like, from pop dance to jazz. Ventana's now has this new jazz night I'm eager to go to. But I like all kinds of opera. I've gone to operas and stuff. But my genres that I like to sing was the 80s heavy metal, rock and roll, the Bon Jovis, the Motley Crues, the Kisses. That's my thing that I can listen to the most. But some modern bands, not so much modern, Hoobastank and Disturbed, and bands like that, which are good, and Youngblood. I like Youngblood. Good rock and music, something where, although I just got my hair cut, it was a little longer before I just got it cut, where I could headbang in the car, listen to some music, and enjoy my free time with the top down, or on the motorcycle, or on this little boat thing I got. It's fun where you can listen to music like U2, anything that makes me feel something, but mostly rock and roll.
Yeah. All right.
And some great rap stuff. Anything by Biggie Smalls, Sean, Puff Daddy. I mean, stuff like Kid Rock. I love all his stuff. Obviously, Marshall, Eminem. It's just great music. I mean, the stories that Marshall. I remember finishing up. It was, I don't know if it was law school, but finishing up a trial or whatever, and have so much angst, and then listening to one of Marshall's songs and be like, man, I don't have any angst compared to him in this song. I actually calmed me down.
You can feel it.
Right?
I'm
like, I think I have problems. Listen to that song. He's crazy.
So I want to go to that because you also shared or dropped for a moment, and this is why we're going to come back and do another episode. And thank you for giving your generous time, which I'm sure their phones are like, where are you? Where are you? So we're going to really wind up quickly to say, you just kind of casually mentioned, and I was 500 pounds.
Yes.
And Mike leaned back, Mike leaned forward. He looked at me, and we were like, what?
Yeah, I'm not shy about it. I had a gastric bypass in 2001. I had finished law school in 94 and 95 at 380, starting at 235, because I was an athlete all my life. So an athlete, boxing, wrestling, rugby, football.
That's where it went out. That's where that energy, the music, you perform.
Law school, there's no sports teams in law school. Yeah. There's nothing.
And you threw yourself into this academics.
And I wasn't smart, so I had to study even more than everyone else. You were working hard, And you're
eating and you're studying.
And Detroit did not have really great food. We used to eat at Greek Town every night. Cheese that they'd light on fire, oppa, and all that stuff. Saganaki, whatever it's called. And so I gained from 235, I started law school, up to 380 by the time I was done with law school. And then 380 to 585 at my biggest. I had a 78-inch waist, and I had a gastric bypass in 2001. December 13th of 2001, the year of 9/11, right after that. And I lost 325 pounds in the year and a half after. And then in 2004, I had the first of the plastic surgeries, which was the tummy, more than the tummy tuck, it's called a palectulum or something like that. They literally take a foot up and down around my entire body of skin off. They redid my belly button, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then in 2007, I had the second part of that, which was loose chest and thighs and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, it's more about psychologically what it was like to be that size, to move. I know for me there's like a lot of dysmorphia from being fit and athletic to big to thin. Again, I didn't mine was a slower process because it was mine was a manual process. And then I just recently dealing with some of that. I say this to you because we made the joke, I need a lawyer. No, I don't. I've been approached by many. I don't know, who knows, maybe I'll get my mind changed. But that I had an accident that was pretty public. And one of the things that happened was I had built myself back up to a fitness level with 3 hours a day of Pilates and yoga for the pain that I still had because I avoided some of the surgeries after my back, that kind of thing. And now I'm splayed out again in a neck brace and a thing. And what happens? What do people bring you when they are sad and want to visit you? Food, chocolates, and this. I'm like, I don't want that. And then, you're there and you have your thoughts.
Well, that's part of
and now you
culture, doesn't it? Like in the Italian and the Armenian culture, someone's born, food. Someone dies, food. So somebody wins something, food. Somebody
get married, food.
Everything is just
graduate, food. Get a new girlfriend, food.
Yeah, and going from being an athlete, that's
the thing. So we
so screwed up.
We could kind of eat what we wanted because we burned it off.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, physically, psychologically, you burned it off, right? Yes. So now you're like, I got to do this case, and you're typing and you're strategizing or whatever, and it's burning fuel. So you kind of want to fuel, but you're not burning in the way to do, the system is blocked.
Well, the gastric bypass, did you say you had one?
No.
The gastric bypass makes that difficult in the sense that your stomach, you have this much space. So you get 1, 2, 3 of those, then you're full. And in 10 minutes, one will pass, and you can get another one.
No, I can unfortunately eat anything
So it's good in the sense that it's now, I couldn't control it, so the gastric bypass makes it can control. I will say this, too. I'll go into this area real quick. I went into my doctor's office about, 2 years ago to just have a normal checkup in August, and I looked at him, and he was now in much better shape, and I said, Doc, what are you doing? He's an athlete as well. In fact, he took my dad's weightlifting course. That's how we became friends. And he goes, this Manjaro, Ozempic, thing like this. I'm like, talk to me about this. What is this? I'm hearing about it. So I went on for like 6 months. I was seeing somebody at the time, and she was on a different type of shot, and she didn't need to lose weight. She was perfect like she was, but she had lost a little weight, and then she wanted to get on the Ozempic. So I tried it. So I teetered between 240 and 255 or 260 after the gastric bypass, in that range. When I got too heavy, the
But
clothes
for like a
didn't fit.
decade, you mean?
No,
Like for all the time?
all the time until 2 years ago.
Oh, okay,
I teetered between that. There was my range, a 20-pound range where in the winter a little more, summer a little less, and so on and so forth. And I found myself getting towards 260. I'd ease up a little bit and diet.
Yeah, you're like, this
because
is
let's
my
face it, I
line.
can only eat this much at a time. But if it's a bowl of potato chips I'm eating all day long, I'm still going to gain weight. So when I took that, I went for 6 months I took it, and I went from 262, I believe, down to 205 in 6 months. And only people who are heavy will understand this comparison. But the scene of The Rock in that movie where Central Intelligence, where he looks in the reflection of the glass, where he sees himself fat as a high school kid, that exists in a heavy person's mind all the time.
Yes.
Except after I had lost this weight and I got to my wrestling high school weight of 188, of where I teeter now, and I started to build up muscle and do things like that, it changed everything for me. Now I walk into a room, I can see men and women, not necessarily in a sexual way, but looking at me more. I can notice so many things that were not taking place, even though I was a successful attorney, had females in my life and so on and so forth. But I see now it's more of a physical commanding of the room rather than, that's
because
that
there
attorney.
is, so I say that too. I get that, and that's what I want to talk about. When you're supposed to be the leader of anything. So for me, it was strategy, tech, that kind of thing, and I felt like I'm a lie, where people don't really believe that I'm smart because I'm overweight.
Yeah. Look, he has no control over himself.
Don't have any control over yourself. You're lazy. You're this and that. And then I grew up with that kind of messaging in my family. No, you're not. You don't do that. So I get that, and I wanted to talk about that and that connection between power and weight, and also, again, not to put everything in a box, but the masculine identity and macho and virility and power and all of that. We don't talk about these things, and why
there's a huge fat prejudice in this country.
Absolutely.
Now, society has tried to make it not as much, like with the Lizzos and this and that. Oh, she's
no body shaming.
No body, and that's wrong. Body shame. Body shame people because
I don't know if I agree, but I know what you're saying.
It's for their own health.
I'd take a different tack. I'd say, there are health reasons. Why if you have visceral fat, I come from pharma and medical, but I don't know if I would shame people, but I would say.
Sometimes
having
you got to put people down so they get reality. Like I was talking about accountability before.
That's your way. I respectfully agree to disagree because I do think other habits sometimes come in if you don't deal with the root, cause. True. And shame isn't usually a long term, for at least for many people's culture box, right? So you don't, because then they start doing something else, right? Then it's booze or pills or sex or whatever, right? Because if you don't deal with the why.
But people don't address that. Am I heavy? No, you're just plump, girl. No, you're not. You're fat. Now, how you're fat might be an issue that needs to be taken up, but be honest with people so that they can, because otherwise, if too many people accept them, there's no reason to change.
So in that part, we agree. I think
people
that the way I would say
it
would be softer, but I'm aligned to the theory. I know where you're coming from, and I do agree with that.
My dad wasn't so soft about it.
Yeah, I get it. Neither was mine, but I also see what that can do to young kids. So I'm very more aware of, show them the way, how I like to show my daughters, for example, now, how good it feels to be able to move a certain way, how good it feels to be able to jump up at 50 years old and do what have you. And I'm right now, the reason I say this is the accident that I was mentioning, because I went from being able to move all day, having that, I put on some weight, and some people are like, you look so good. What are you talking about? You're still really small. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm not trying to impress anyone at this point. For me, within the way I feel in my body, I had built back myself to an athletic way that felt a certain way when I move like this, when I'm doing Pilates, when I'm doing that, and now I can't. Right. I'm very aware of that. So it's not for,
if there was somebody else's fault, you have to pursue that. Yeah.
Well, that's a different topic,
Absolutely.
But I meant that I noticed I felt right back into some of those habits the minute that my ability to physically move was taken from me.
Interestingly enough, with why the
I thought I was over the eating issue until I had an accident, and then all of a sudden the eating issue came back.
Why the Ozempic loss for me is so good is two levels. One of the negative things that can happen with Ozempic is you get what's called stomach paralysis, where your stomach doesn't work the way it used to after you get off of Ozempic. I have no stomach. It's been surgically sealed off. That's number one. That's why it works for me. And number two, all Ozempic did was get me back to a normal gastric bypass guy who now has a little pouch. So the effectiveness of the little pouch makes it so I can't fall back into those hazards. All it did was reset the clock on my weight so that I could do it. So maybe, and we could talk about this more another time, maybe if there are dietary aids such as diet pills and some other things, or even Ozempic, to take that craving away from you, you won't, even if you fall back in it, you'll have a bite of a Reese's peanut butter cup, which is my thing I fall prey to. Something. It's my kryptonite. I'll have a bite of it and be like, that's it.
Two great tastes. It tastes
great. They do taste great together, I must say. Yeah. And in all their fashions.
Well, I thank you for chatting with me. I love that we don't exactly have the same. Like, we don't have to.
That's the way it makes for a great conversation.
Absolutely. And so thank you for that.
And I love to learn other people's point of view because it changes mine.
I guess because I'm trying to do systemic change in people from within themselves. What I have found is, like I say, pop psych pure doesn't, I don't think, work for everyone, but I'm trying to do like pop psych, like I joked, our like game thing, Grand Theft Auto, but actually you're helping me. So I want to be cool and real language and real way people think and move, but how do we find you something to go towards instead of like, you're bad for that?
Right.
Because not everyone can even afford Ozempic and all those things. I know for
now
me,
it's very cheap. So
but I thought about it like, there's commercials everywhere. I don't watch a lot of TV.
I recommend it tremendously. They should have highly. It changes people's life. I'm
not against it.
And I don't even take the Ozempic that is called Ozempic. I take some kind of semi-glutide my doctor puts together.
Which is funny because I worked in diabetes. We made all those products. It was called by once a week injectable. Yeah. And so we were noticing, obviously, the weight. I worked with Dr. Oz on one of my last products around visceral fat around the organs. It was supposed to be smoking cessation, pill that helps you stop eating less. And we talked about how to really hack your brain.
Yes.
And then the ways you do it and the tools that you use to get there on your way, so you don't have to wait 5 years to get to the way you want to feel. Great. But it is interesting to me because I think that people really do put you in little boxes by the way you enter the room. And when you're a certain kind of person or you're an attorney in a very high profile, cameras are going, at the same time, there's also a power in that, right? Because you have size. Yes. For me, as a smaller person.
Yeah, it's not the same for women too. Yeah.
But I said, I didn't know this until I thought about it after, and I can't believe I'm going to say this on the recording. I said, you know what I liked about being heavy? I liked it a little bit because I was like, I was invisible. I could walk in an elevator. No one looked at me.
They looked. They just wouldn't acknowledge.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm saying.
No, that's a very interesting thing.
Not like. Looked.
Yeah.
Okay. There's
a lot of pressure off you for that.
Yeah. I was prey my whole life.
I was the opposite. I was more like a Chris Farley one. I would be the one to start making jokes to people and everything to get them to like me before they could judge me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was just like it killed him and John Belushi. That was very difficult. I mean, everybody be laughing with me while I'm there, but I know they'd be laughing at me when I'm not. So it was my brain that sort of took over for a while.
Yeah.
But even walking in the courthouse, I'd have to stop, sit down, pretend I'm reading a piece of paper, literally because I just couldn't walk any further. And it was in summer. It was devastating.
And it is an exertion, even in the courtroom. And then what do you say? So you have to think, move, act, function, right?
Luckily, my brain was
in a fishbowl. In a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And for me, it was that present at a conference, and I started to feel shame though, and I would send other people on my behalf. We're gonna go. We're gonna end up.
No, I just have to see who's calling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's an important man. Yeah. But no, thank you for this. But I just found it fascinating, and I think that you're willing, because the thing is, I did start very like, I am woman, hear me. We do a lot of things, ran a nonprofit for disadvantaged women and that kind of thing. And what I've started to notice in the last few years, that a lot of the stories that were really pulling me and where I was drawn is with men, because I realized these are the stories I had not heard before.
Right.
And so I thank you for just giving me this little snippet window into your world and life, and that we're going to come back and talk about it with Mike P. That's the thing, because I think there's the other stuff around the shame, the self-deprecating, the other habits that come out. You had a successful career and an outlet for yourself.
Yes.
I'm sure you have times though where in social relationships, interpersonal, that kind of stuff, that weight started to cloud how you saw yourself in the world, and now you're out of that.
100% at all times.
So
and I'm not
kind of
out of it. It's always still there.
Okay.
I just learned this. I've learned now at 57 years old, I've learned now that time is short on this planet. So if there's something like Ozempic that can fix it now, fix it. If you've got this problem, if you've got cancer in this area, it might grow this, cut this whole area out. Well, I like having 5 toes. Well, go for 4 if that'll help you. If you're an alcoholic, stop being an alcoholic. Unfortunately, in my life, I had a personal relationship with someone who's an alcoholic. No matter what you do, it's going to destroy you in that relationship eventually. Just stop being an alcoholic, whatever it takes. If you need money, I'll give you money. In fact, I'll say this to you and your audience. If you come to me and show me pictures of you fat and you want to take Ozempic, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for viewers of your thing to pay for people if they take it and do it, because it'll change their life. Then they're going to be able to help somebody else.
That's right.
It will
And that's what we're
people's
actually
lives.
trying to do.
Yeah.
That if you can write your own show,
Yeah.
and then all we ask is then you try and do that to somebody
100%.
else. All right. Well, thank you.
My
We're
pleasure.
going to keep, I'm like, we're shaking very
Absolutely.
formal handshake.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.